an accident, Adam McMillan, and we are wishing him well, keeping him in our prayers, and recognize that our sheriffs do an excellent job, and we appreciate the work they do. And just want to acknowledge that. And so that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, and just as a addition, there is, if anyone watching or hearing or however we broadcast this now, there is a GoFundMe page set up for Officer McMillan. So if you have the wherewithal, I'm sure that it would be most appreciated. And we definitely send our thoughts and prayers to a swift and speedy recovery to him. And we definitely miss him being here.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Ken?
Thank you. Financial reports are running pretty much as we expected. Actually, one of the items later on appropriation changes, the TIF funds came in, or 1994 TIF came in much higher than we anticipated. We anticipated like a 3 to 5% increase from the previous year, and actually they came in much higher than that, which is good news. The school districts got more money. We got more money. There were quite a few delinquencies that factored into that, $500,000 in the first half, which is something you really can't calculate. So we are going to be asking for an appropriation change on that, and that's the next item. There's an appropriation change in your packet for plus $2 million to go to the school district. We had budgeted for $11 million. I think the extra $2 million is probably just a little bit of a stretch, but the calculations are very complicated. The auditor's office has not reconciled everything yet, but I'm just saying the $2 million appropriation change, that doesn't mean we're going to spend it, but it's just a cushion so that I don't have to come back next month and ask you for more money. So I think that would cover it. So I would need your approval on that.
I move to adopt the appropriation changes outlined by Fiscal Officer Ken Dietz.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
And then we have, as we have every October, we have to approve of the amounts and rates that are determined by the county auditor, knowing these are only taxable properties. These are not TIF properties. And I went over the numbers. They're, like I said, they're estimates. To me, they look like they're fairly close to what I would anticipate us having. You know, the millage rates calculated times evaluations seem pretty close. They won't be exact, obviously, but I would approve of what they sent us, and we have a resolution there for accepting the amounts and rates.
I move to adopt a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you, and we have approval of minutes on the agenda.
I move to approve the minutes of August 20 of 2020 and September 3rd of 2020.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Law Director's report. I think, Vicki, you're filling in for that.
Yes. Ms. Comey and I have talked earlier today. She is required to review our credit card payments, review who is eligible to utilize the township credit card, and to make sure that everything is in line with the regulations every 6 months. Margaret has completed that review. She received information from the fiscal office, and she has asked that I request your approval of a resolution before you, which is item 5A in your packet.
I move to adopt a resolution accepting the report of the law director as compliance officer provided pursuant to the Anderson Township credit card account policy, October 2020.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning. Hello, Paul.
Good evening.
That's
There
just
you
not too.
Great.
Illinois.
We have a resolution for your consideration for nuisance abatement at property located at 7080 Hunley Road. This is for tall grass pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87, and the property owner is U.S. Bank National Association.
I move to adopt a resolution determining existence of nuisance on land owned by U.S. Bank National Association located at 7080 Hunley Road in Anderson Township and providing for notice and remediation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item under our department is the Patterson Road sidewalk. And I know it feels like we've been discussing this at the past several months, but this has been one of our most challenging sidewalk projects for quite some time. And we do want to give credit for Brad Bowers and Steve and Eric and our engineer, our right-of-way consultant, trying to come up with innovative ways to keep this project moving forward. And the biggest challenge has been addressing stormwater along Patterson Road. So prior requests before you have been to look at two different options. One was to upsize culverts in the area, and the other was to look at possibly installing a detention basin at the top of the project, at the top of Patterson Hill, closer to Beachmont Avenue. So before, we were requesting preliminary studies to look at both options. We have done that, our engineer has done that, and has determined that a detention basin would be the better scenario. The concern with upsizing culverts would be that would just allow the water to flow more freely and down to properties further downstream. So it's really exacerbating the project, or the problem further downstream. We feel that constructing a detention basin upstream would be the better scenario, not just for this project, for the region as a whole. So we are requesting an additional contract with Kleinger's Group, our engineer, to design, further study and design a regional detention basin and to produce construction documents for this basin. The township is still negotiating property for the detention basin, so if that does not move forward, then the study would also not move forward.
Okay.
Paul, I can't read this. Is that 18 or 13?
13.
13.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Here you go.
No, I got it.
No, here you go.
I move to enter into contract with Kleinger's Group to design a regional detention basin and produce construction documents for such basin for a total amount not to exceed $13,400 using funds available in Anderson Trails TIF budget, allowing the township to move forward with the necessary next steps to advance the grant-funded sidewalk project, which could begin construction in late 2021.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes,
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you all. That's all we had.
Thanks, Paul.
thank you.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Here we go. Sounds nice, thanks.
It's like chalkboard.
Yes, I just wanted to express my department's and my own gratitude for everybody's kindness during this time. Vicki has been kind of the liaison from you guys, and she couldn't have been more understanding. And, I'd also like to thank again Rick. Went the wrong way. He was on scene and gave immediate help to my officer. So, but really, the whole community has been reaching out, and it really touched us. So, I just wanted to say thank you.
Did you see the sign on Bernie?
I did not. I think I saw a picture of the sign. So it's very
That was
nice.
made by, a family made that sign by themselves, and it's really quite touching.
Yes, it's very nice. As far as update for Corporal, there's not really a change. He's still unconscious, unresponsive. So we're waiting for the swelling to go down and see what happens from there. But thank you again.
We will
Thank you.
continue to keep him in our prayers.
Thanks, Dan.
Public Works. Hello, Eric.
Hello. See if we can figure this out.
Who can do it the most quietly?
Very noisy.
That's the-
Sorry about that.
I feel so much safer now.
Yeah.
This evening, Public Works is presenting before the board the annual resolution declaring a necessity for snow removal on streets that were not yet accepted or otherwise dedicated for any type of safety or emergency situation that may arise. So the resolution declaring an emergency for snow removal on accepted roads is before you for this evening.
Move to adopt a resolution declaring an emergency for snow removal on unaccepted roads.
Second,
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, we have seasonal public works workers. As the board is aware, in November of 2009, several staff recommendations were made to provide a temporary seasonal winter help for the Public Works Department. This recommendation was based upon the need to fill vacancies that were created due to retirements in Public Works as we entered into the 2010 snow season. We have since followed this pattern for the last 10 years, which has enabled us to ramp up staffing seasonally when needed, and thereby minimizing costs for Public Works operations. At this time, I would like to fill these vacancies with temporary seasonal employees. I am requesting that these employees have an employment starting date of December 1st, 2020, and they will be eligible to work on an as-needed basis through December 31st of 2021. The pay rate of the temporary seasonal employees will be the equivalent to the starting rate of pay for a road maintenance worker one set forth in the Anderson Township Road Maintenance Collective Bargaining Agreement and will not exceed $40,000 in aggregate. And that is before you for your consideration.
Okay. What was your starting date? December?
December 31st of 2021. Or, I'm sorry, 2020. December 1st of 2020.
Okay, well, we
And
have
then-
January 1st. Is January 1st okay?
That's fine, that's
Okay.
fine. And then-
That works.
Yeah, that works. Okay, I move to authorize an amount not to exceed $40,000 from the Road and Bridge Fund for seasonal temporary employees for the Public Works Department from January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021.
2020.
2020.
Yeah,
Oh,
'cause we'll come
2020.
back next year, 2020.
Do it again.
Sorry,
Second,
2020.
2020. I'll second the. for-
January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
I'll second that again.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
No, it's
No, I
incorrect, 'cause
was
it's got-
right.
It's got to fall, it's got to
It's
fall
20
through
I am
December
right.
of 2021.
Thank you. Right, it
Well,
says,
D can't see numbers.
no,
That
I'm
gives them the
reading what's
opportunity to
here.
work
What's here
all
is
next year
wrong. It's
also on an
2021.
as-needed basis.
Correct.
Can
Okay,
I third it?
can you, okay, can you, January 1st, 2020, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Will you second that?
Second that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pappas?
Please, yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you, sorry for the confusion.
Oh,
Eric, that's,
and it was going so well.
Can you
up
tell
there.
Eric, we're
Molly's
having a
out
good
this week?
meeting. Your Public
Thanks, Eric.
Works mixed it up.
Nothing from Fire and Rescue. Thank you, Chief. So, back to administration. Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
You tried.
I tried.
saw
I
you,
tried while
I
you're
saw you
talking,
try
so.
that.
Good evening. I do have the first item on the agenda pertaining to King Louis Court and Township property at 7887 Beachmont Avenue, which is actually on King Louis Court. Board authorized the sale of that property this summer. There's a resolution before you that would modify that purchase and sale agreement to allow for an extension of the due diligence period. And we would request your support with that to enable us to proceed with the potential buyer.
I move to adopt a resolution approving a First Amendment to real property purchase and sale agreement with ARS Property Acquisitions LLC with respect to real property located at 7887 Beachmont Avenue and authorizing the execution and delivery of said First Amendment. Me. It's just a
Second.
second.
Mr. Pappas? Abstain. Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes.
Thank you. And while I'm here, and it's not on the agenda per se, but we just got a note today with the census winding up today, would like to just pass on some pretty amazing statistics for Anderson Township, and we'll share these certainly on social media tomorrow or early next week. Our self-response rate, which is the rate at which people went and took the census either online, on mail, or on the phone, was 85.5%. That number places us as the #1 township in Southwest Ohio. But when you look at the size of our community, so we're lower when you look at townships across the state. But when you look at the size of Anderson at over 40,000, we are the #1 city or township in Ohio with a population of over 40,000 and number 15 nationally. And those are impressive statistics. I thank our residents, I thank our staff, I thank our community partners. We had a pretty strong effort with other entities in this community to get the word out. And ultimately, that action saves us, saves the federal government a lot of money, a lot of manpower, and provides us with the most accurate count when this data comes out here in the next couple of years. So wanted to share those with you. They're quite astounding. We have a lot to be proud of in that regard, and we appreciate our residents responding accordingly. So,
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for your efforts on that.
Good afternoon again. The first item that I have to present is a resolution that would update our public records policy. Just as I mentioned last month, in 2019, we provided over 2,100 pages of documents based on public records requests. So far this year, we've provided about 1,500 pages. This is something that, again, Steve mentioned being proud of staff, and this is one area where they shine. We have public records requests come in. Virtually every request gets a response same day, and we typically fulfill that request, depending on how extensive it is, with less than 5 business days. The resolution before you is a policy that is based on updated information from the state of Ohio, from the Ohio Attorney General's office, which provided a model policy. And it also provides for our records custodian, who is Ms. Cowan, who is our office manager, and requires that she sign and acknowledge receipt of the policy once the board adopts it. So I would ask for your consideration of the resolution before you.
I move to adopt the resolution for public records policy of Anderson Township, Hamilton County.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Gerth?
Yes, I don't know if anyone has ever dealt with any other public entities trying to get public records requests, but I would say our action related to that should be a model for everybody.
Yeah,
So,
it's
well
amazing.
done.
Very
Thank
true.
The next item, we have an update on COVID and also CARES Act. Mr. Dietz and his staff and I are meeting on Monday to go over the CARES Act dollars. We now have until November 20th to determine how those funds will be utilized, and we had hoped to make a recommendation to the board today, but the guidance keeps changing. And so we are going to finalize things hopefully on Monday. We'll work through that, but we've been working very closely, administration in the fiscal office, and I think we've got a really good handle on what's available to us. I know Ms. Hucker has attended a number of webinars and other instructional sessions to determine the appropriate way to spend those dollars, as have I, and I think we've got a good plan moving forward, and we'll get it finalized here shortly. But as far as COVID itself, today, I want to read a couple of things from the Columbus Dispatch and also some comments from Governor DeWine. Unfortunately, Ohio set a new record for coronavirus cases today, which makes the second day in a row that the state has hit a new record, and the third time in less than a week. 2,178 Ohioans tested positive for COVID today, bringing the statewide total to 175,843 residents. Governor DeWine commented that this is in stark contrast to not long ago, September 20th, barely a month ago, when there were 726 cases. This has been an increase that he has characterized as alarming. He encourages everyone to wear masks, to maintain social distancing, noting that this virus is the biggest threat to our loved ones and also our economy. Because if things continue to go the way they are, it cannot have a good impact on the economy at all. It is something that is very concerning to us, especially with first responders and our staff who are dedicated to serving the public. So we strongly encourage everyone to wear masks and maintain that social distancing, even though it's becoming harder and harder as holidays approach. Closer to home, Hamilton County Public Health reports, and this is without Norwood and Springdale, Hamilton County cases, there are 8,645 cases, 650 hospitalizations, and 228 deaths. Within our zip codes, 45244, there's 171 cases, 45255, 171 cases, and 45230 has experienced an increase. We're up to 207 cases. So that's a total of 549 just in our area. I would encourage also folks to be able to stay on top of what's going on. There are two mechanisms to do that. Well, there are actually more than two, but the two that I find most helpful is the coronavirus.ohio.gov website. Also, Governor DeWine every Tuesday and Thursday does a press update, and that is available usually on some of the local news channels. It's also available on the Ohio channel. It's streamed online, where he answers questions from the media and also provides updates. There's also the Hamilton County Commissioners every Wednesday at 10 a.m. And if you go to hamiltoncountyohio.gov to the Board of County Commissioners website, or portion of that, they stream public meetings. So every Wednesday at 10 a.m. there's an update on what the status of the county is. Right now, I remember about a week ago, there was a comment made that there were 18 counties in the state of Ohio that were at the red level, which is the high risk of exposure. As of today, that's increased to 29 counties. There are over 70 counties out of the 88 counties in Ohio, 70 counties that are either red or high incidence, which is 10 million Ohioans, or 85% of the population. So it's incumbent upon all of us to do what we can to help each other, help our loved ones, and to stay safe and healthy so we can get not only reduce deaths and hospitalization and illness, but to also help our economy get back on track. The next item I have
Vicki, if I could,
yes,
I just want to mention the report that is due this Tuesday for the CARES Act,
yes,
all our expenditures and our revenues and everything. We just found out about that a couple days ago, and you responded, and Debbie Hucker and Nancy Downs kind of had everything on, put together, spreadsheets and everything. We're going to work that out Monday. But thank you to all of you for putting this together on very short notice, like 3 days to prepare that report.
yeah, we make a pretty good team, I think. So we'll get it knocked out and make sure. We've commented, Debbie and I have commented, that the CARES Act dollars are coming to us from taxpayers, not just Anderson Township taxpayers, but taxpayers in the country. But we also recognize that by accepting those CARES Act dollars and using them wisely, that we can perhaps defer additional public safety levy or other expenses for our residents in the future. This is not money that we're taking in or we're recommending that we take in and then spend money wildly on something else. We look at this as a way of accepting dollars that will hopefully defray costs for our own taxpayers moving forward. So we're being very cautious about how we handle this. So. The next item and the last item is a property item arising from exec session discussion. I would ask the board's consideration of agenda item 10D.
I move to authorize the purchase of real property in the township pursuant to section 511.11 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Second. Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all we have for the board this evening.
Thank you, Vicki. Our next meeting in this room will be November 19th at 5 o'clock. With that, I'd move to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Pappas?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Girth?
Yes, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Okay, what is this?